I often say I never sang a genre I hadn't heard at home. I can't do it honestly. She silenced stadiums with her voice, the genre-bending queen. Behind the scenes, Linda Ronstadt has a list of betrayals deeper than any song. Get to know Jim Morrison. Probably didn't know him. Being grumpy was his nature. I avoided his proximity. This film explores the 7 musicians who had an enduring impact on Ronstadt. These stories depict rock and roll's hidden tensions, from backroom betrayals to public humiliations. Don Henley and the Eagles, 7th. Before selling out stadiums, the Eagles were unknown musicians. Glenn Frey and Don Henley were searching for their Los Angeles niche. For them, Linda Ronstadt altered everything. She tried these two for her 1971 tour backing band. Henley drummed and sang and harmonized. Frey played guitar. Bernie Leadon and Randy Meisner were also on board. The Eagles, a legendary rock band, started with the tour. They weren't just hired by Ronstadt. She guided, exposed, and credited them. She was a burgeoning country rock performer at the time. Her band was noticed by industry insiders. She helped them network. After the tour, Frey and Henley formed their own band. Ronstadt backed that choice. Her goal wasn't to keep them. She released them and advised record execs to listen. Eagles exploded fast. They hit with Take It Easy in 1973. Desperado, One of These Nights, and Hotel California followed. Ronstadt's protégés became arena superstars while she pursued her solo career. The situation worsened behind the scenes. Henley's outlook changed. Fame altered tone. He allegedly became more domineering and disdainful of Ronstadt's music. Henley gently but pointedly said Ronstadt's style was too polished in a mid-1970s interview. For Ronstadt, who valued musical growth and craftsmanship, that criticism hurt. She felt disrespected because he ignored her influence on the band's early sound, and because she gave him a chance. Offstage events really strained relations. Ronstadt found Henley was using her name to enter unapproved events. He allegedly demanded guest access to her tour without permission. After discovering that, she terminated his backstage credentials. From then on, Henley was banned from her shows. Industry sources say Ronstadt addressed the problem softly but aggressively. She didn't criticize Henley publicly. She didn't cause trouble. She severed ties. A woman known for her grace and expertise, she rarely crossed the line. Now, she made an exception. This idea is often overlooked. She was more than a singer. She helped shape talent behind the scenes. Ronstadt's touring, stage discipline, and vocal layering shaped the Eagles before they discovered their voice. Frey later said they learnt harmony by watching her record vocals. That helped make the Eagles sound famous. However, Henley never recognized that influence. He distanced himself from the early days, possibly to develop the Eagles' independent brand. Ronstadt never claimed credit, but many who knew the story saw the trend. Frey and Henley were introduced to Ronstadt by her producer, John Boylan. Not a random relationship, it was planned. Ronstadt was involved in the Eagles' founding. The foundation included her. Henley's departure from that origin tale felt like a silent betrayal. After the fallout, they rarely saw each other. Ronstadt tried opera, mariachi, and big band. Continuing the classic rock formula, Henley went solo. Both succeeded, but that early relationship was never mentioned. Jim Morrison's backstage arrogance and public ridicule of Linda Ronstadt damaged their budding romance. In 1968, Linda Ronstadt struggled to gain her footing in the music world. The Stone Ponies, who had a hit with a different drum, first caught her eye. She met Jim Morrison, the Doors' lead vocalist, during this rise. Morrison's wild conduct and the band's unexpected shows were well known. Their careers were damaged by unplanned onstage interactions. Morrison promptly attended Ronstadt's first concert. In the middle of her performance, he emerged from behind the scenes, approached her, and dragged her toward him in front of everyone. He tried to kiss her on stage without telling her. It was unprofessional, unpleasant, and unexpected. Stopping, Ronstadt seemed shocked. That embarrassed her in front of thousands and ruined the mood. It wasn't a whim. Morrison followed a pattern. By 1968, his drug and alcohol addiction was worse, and he often caused concert difficulties. However, this episode was unusual since another artist declined to join his onstage drama. Morrison used Ronstadt as a show prop, not a buddy. After the show, Ronstadt was quiet backstage. People knew her for her public composure, but others who knew her say it shook her. She didn't say much, but her team made it plain she wouldn't perform near Morrison again. She didn't need that confusion as her career increased. Performance was only part of the issue. Morrison worsened matters weeks later. In a radio interview, he mocked Ronstadt, saying she's nice but spineless. He claimed her songs lacked passion, and she didn't speak up. It was nasty and sensitive. It comes from a much more powerful and famous person. Ronstadt lost faith once the comments circulated. Still, she didn't respond publicly. Never did she act that way. Instead, she built her catalog and reputation show by show. She had a Morrison moment. Some claim it altered her music business practices. Ronstadt realized her stage presence and boundaries after that. She grew more selective about partners, avoid tours with risky musicians. Most people don't know this most vital fact. Ronstadt was gaining industry recognition behind the scenes. Managers and producers viewed her as more than a teenage voice. They saw her as a promising professional. After the Morrison event, some insiders focused on her. They liked her response. No drama, just distance. This made her feel good about being selfish. Morrison kept whirling. Drinking too much worsened his stage stumbling. Within 3 years, he died at 27. Even though Ronstadt left an impact on rock history, his actions showed that he was bright, yet flawed. The issue went beyond his behavior. Due to his inappropriate behavior, another artist's career was affected. Ronstadt regarded it as a new beginning, not the end of the world. With no drama in mind, she continued. Naturally, her talent and hard work helped her grow. Ronstadt had a decades-long career, but Morrison resigned soon. Number 5, Neil Young's firing. Linda Ronstadt's fame peaked in the mid-1970s. Her voice was unmatched, and her CDs sold millions. She was the sole female leader of a male-dominated rock scene. Neil Young also excelled during the period. Critics lauded his folk rock and political views. Despite their diverse music styles, both musicians were admired. Things didn't go as planned when they met at a 1,976 highly tense charity performance. Many artists attending were farm labor activists. Linda Ronstadt joined Neil Young and others because she has long supported these causes. Many voices were present on paper. But things went south rapidly behind the scenes. Young had strong protest music tastes. Rough, urgent, and emotionless. Ronstadt's slick presentation and radio-ready sound didn't fit his persona. Behind the scenes, he let go. He made it plain he didn't like her even manner and didn't follow her practice instructions. People alleged he informed them her music was too commercial and clean for a protest space. This went beyond taste. It felt personal. Ronstadt was surprised because she usually worked hard and admired other musicians. She wasn't there for public questions. Supporting a cause was her goal. After the performance, she was sad yet professional. Neil Young and she had only performed together once before yesterday night. The aftermath wasn't covered in the news. Both performers continued their careers. However, industry sources stated Ronstadt secretly ended projects with Young. Though she never said it, she implied in interviews years later that male artists had misjudged her sincerity. Young, however, wrote political songs unfiltered. He presumably imagined it would fade over a long career of strong opinions and creative debate. He rarely spoke publicly. Later, even Ronstadt's supporters recognized that her treatment that night was more about control than music. The context and conflict were unusual. Ronstadt and Young fought for the same cause in different ways, wanted speed and edge. She reached there easily. Although Ronstadt made protest music sound refined, it was increasingly common on the radio and in record stores. Her platform could move people without yelling. Most people don't know that Ronstadt didn't leave. She departed. She became pickier about political gatherings, making sure the cause and intensity matched her views. Her success inspired her to support action behind the scenes so she could encourage others without going on stage and risking judgment. That decision established the tone for her second, less busy but essential career phase. Who was right in this story doesn't matter. They had quite different ideas about how to achieve the same aim. Having a common goal doesn't always make everyone happy. Ronstadt considered that 1976 benefit event as pivotal for what it demonstrated, not what was said. Even when working for the same cause, travelers behaved differently. The night with Neil Young went beyond anguish. Ronstadt never again tried to prove her worth to other artists. She had gold records, sold-out gigs, and a legacy that would last decades. When Frank Zappa criticized Linda Ronstadt's ideas, their collaboration became humiliating. Number 4. Frank Zappa's studio snub. In 1970s music, Zappa was daring, experimental, and unfiltered. He didn't seek mainstream appeal. He was a perfectionist with a peculiar, intricate music perspective. Thus, in 1974, Linda Ronstadt, one of the most successful female singers at the time, did not create magic in his studio. Disaster struck. This plan seemed easy on paper. Ronstadt wanted to try new sounds and musical boundaries. Zappa needed vocalists for a rock-jazz avant-garde project. The match appeared daring and intriguing. It was her voice. He had ideas. But what transpired in the studio demonstrated how different their worlds were. Zappa started the session as a test rather than a cooperation. Ran a tight ship. Musicians were expected to blindly follow him. Zappa apparently laughed at Ronstadt's vocal and phrasing suggestions. Not privately, not kind, in front of the band. The studio tech remembered how uncomfortable it was. Zappa criticized her tone and said she didn't understand intricate arrangements. Ronstadt wasn't ignored, she was degraded. And not because she was inept. She had platinum records and sold-out tours by 1974. Nothing seemed to matter in Zappa's studio. His style denied mutual respect. He made her feel unwelcome instead of building together. Before the session ended, she left. No announcement, no conflict. Only silence. That quiet lasted years. They never collaborated again. And those session tapes were stored. Nothing from their brief meeting was released. Zappa's private remarks add intrigue. He believed the event proved pop singers couldn't handle serious music. That perspective disregarded a bigger fact. Creative chemistry differs from creative control. Ronstadt needed not emulate Zappa. She only wanted peer treatment. That's where the session failed. Not only did Zappa push music limits, people who didn't suit his system were pushed away. Ronstadt was woken up. She returned to her comfort zone with more studio space management. Professionally and openly guiding sessions acquired her reputation, a stark contrast to Zappa. This new detail is rarely mentioned. That failed session inspired Ronstadt to take greater risks, on her terms. She moved into big band, mariachi, and country rock crossovers within a few years. She chose all those shifts. She wasn't simply rebranding. She demonstrated that creativity might be bold without cruelty. Zappa kept creating his legacy. He collaborated with vocalists who fit his harsh setting. He recorded well. But he burned bridges. His work was sharpened by his attitude. This reduced the number of artists he could work with comfortably. That session was defining even though it didn't generate a hit, just not the kind most hear about. The cost of creative arrogance. Ronstadt and viewers were reminded that genius doesn't excuse mistreatment. Walking away didn't hurt Ronstadt. Actually, she got stronger. Understanding how she wanted to work, who she trusted in the studio, and what energy she would no longer allow. The Zappa collaboration was unnoticed. It changed her behind the scenes. She hadn't to match his universe. She was establishing one on her own terms. Third, David Crosby's public criticism. Linda Ronstadt and David Crosby were close during the Laurel Canyon music scene's golden age. Their creative groups, jam sessions, and stage support were similar. That age was about freedom and collaboration. It suited Ronstadt and Crosby for a while. Unity gradually broke down. A rehearsal argument escalated into a public quarrel. It happened in 1975, while both musicians prepared for a benefit show. Crosby suggested a major adjustment for a group performance. Ronstadt gently rejected, saying her voice wasn't up to it. She constantly guarded her voice. It was her instrument. Crosby wasn't pleased. Fallout was swift. Crosby was candid in a Rolling Stone interview weeks later. All of Ronstadt's career was discarded. She was called made, and a result of studio engineering, not talent. This was no joke for Crosby, a renowned man. It tarnished her reputation. She was shocked. She worked hard to become a musician. Success didn't come easily. She toured extensively, recorded with the greatest, and ran risks other mainstream singers avoided. It hurt because Crosby's comment came from someone she trusted. She quietly broke up after that interview. She deleted his music from her playlists and kept him off guest lists and project ideas. Not only a response to an insult, a border. She distinguished personal history from professional respect. Not many know that Ronstadt blocked Crosby socially. She also canceled a studio session with Laurel Canyon musicians that included him. Her choice forced producers to revise the lineup. An album that was a hit without her would have used harmony vocals from that session. Her absence was noted. Crosby remembered his remarks. His newspaper coverage of a fellow musician was critiqued by other musicians. Several said it was a pattern. Crosby was known for being outspoken and challenging. He made circumstances worse by using drugs. His personal and professional ties were collapsing. Ronstadt advanced, she improved her sound, tried new genres, and expanded her influence. She moved into classical and Latin music within a few years, proving her voice was natural. She strengthened her art with every move after the Crosby tragedy. Her response was private. She needn't. His remarks were less than her work. Crosby later stated in interviews that he made many blunders during that time. He never truly apologized to Ronstadt, but expressed regret. However, the harm was done. Trust was gone. This is underexplored. Ronstadt and Crosby's fight represented a larger music scene upheaval. Older musicians like Crosby fought with transition as Ronstadt embraced commercial success and professional organization. Success was seen as selling out, but success didn't imply sacrificing quality. Ronstadt didn't seek stardom, she evolved. Not just a personal fight, it symbolized the growing split between idealism and sustainability in the music industry. Ronstadt selected the lengthy, disciplined, adaptable path. Crosby believed in purity for a time. Ronstadt's calm response to Crosby's criticism was wise. She kept creating because she felt it was better. While Crosby's career fluctuated, hers rose. It may not make headlines, but this moment shaped both artists. Ronstadt ended a musical friendship and began defining her path without compromise. Elvis Costello called Ronstadt background music for brunch, sparking a backstage spat that ended their brief relationship. Number 2, Elvis Costello's public insult. Linda Ronstadt had one of the most varied vocals in popular music by 1,979. She effortlessly transitioned between country, rock, pop, and ballads, winning fan and musician respect. But not everyone liked her polished voice. Punk and new wave emerging star Elvis Costello made that painfully evident in Cleveland at an embarrassing time. Ronstadt headlined a major festival. After a great set, Costello downplayed her performance to reporters backstage as brunch background music. The insult was deliberate and unwarranted. Costello was punk's raw, defiant edge. With her sophisticated voice and crossover popularity, Ronstadt didn't fit that model. Costello considered her part of the establishment he intended to overthrow. Ronstadt confronted him after hearing the comment. When she approached him backstage, Costello reportedly insulted her again before leaving. He didn't apologize or explain. Ronstadt had received criticism previously, but this one from a fellow artist at a shared occasion hurt more. Simply put, it was disdain. But the narrative continued. What happened next is hardly discussed. That moment made Ronstadt rethink the artistic community. Open collaboration was her longtime philosophy. She accepted diverse voices, even from conflicting genres, but this occurrence made her wary. She avoided events with hostile performers. It was strategy, not terror, to focus on the music and maintain her peace. The comments followed Costello for years. Though he had a great career, he was known for his caustic tongue and dismissal of musicians who didn't share his values. This image accompanied him throughout the early 1980s. He described his younger self as immature and caustic in later conversations. That Cleveland insult continued to hurt. The Ronstadt team pondered a public response behind the scenes. They chose silence. It wasn't mentioned in interviews, liner notes, or responses by Ronstadt. She focused on work. She soon recorded a traditional Mexican album, breaking the pop cycle and proving her artistic perspective was always her own. She received critical acclaim and new fans who admired her for taking risks. In an industry full of egos, Ronstadt's ability to ignore public criticism without getting involved in feuds was exceptional. She proved professionalism could outshine a comeback. She created an enduring career while others struggled with headlines. That's character and power. Years later, Costello tempered his criticism of several musicians. He never apologized to Ronstadt, although he admitted to early arrogance. Still, the Cleveland episode defined the respect, or lack thereof, between two very different corners.